just how it's all organized. If you could go back in time and do their 0 to hero program, you know, starting off at your private, would you do it that way, or do you like that you did your private on your own at the mom and pop before you went to the big box school?
I'd probably go to ATP. I'll be honest. But I would have done it. I wouldn't have gone to college. If I really knew what I wanted to do, I would have went from high school to ATP. And now I would have been, you know, at the regional, or I could have been at the majors by now. I graduated in 2018. So
you're not exaggerating too much. Hello, welcome back to the Pro Pilot Playbook podcast, where we bring you the tips, tricks, hacks, and shortcuts to get you into the cockpit of a jet faster and cheaper. Episode 63 today, another interview session. And I think this is gonna, I say this every episode, but this is gonna be a good one. This is gonna answer a lot of the questions out there for you guys who are on the cusp of starting training and realizing your local flight school is swamped and you're only going to be able to do the exact opposite of what Mike and I are always saying, which is fly every day. And you're figuring out you can only do it once a week because your flight school is just overwhelmed. And Mike, you want to introduce our guest today?
Yeah. So our special guest today is Jahmal Orr. He's starting his career in aviation, starting his career in flying. And, you know, he has a YouTube channel. It's just starting out. It's called Jahmal the Pilot. And is that right? Right. Yep. And I came across his I was searching for some information on ATP, and we'd love to have someone from ATP on the show, but they're so busy they haven't gotten back to us. But I think we'll be able to do that pretty soon. But his video was so good, and it's a 15-minute video, and we'll link it to this on there. But his journey is really exactly how Sean and I recommend you do it. You know, starting to get a job at the airport, even though you're not a pilot, networking, finding the financing, and then doing your flight training as fast as possible.
Accelerated training.
Yes. So when I saw his video, I'm like, we got to have this guy on. So Jahmal, welcome to the Pro Pilot Playbook podcast.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So why don't you give us your story, man? How'd you even figure out you liked airplanes? Start there.
Yeah. Let's start at the very beginning. You're from the great city of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, right?
Oh, yeah. That's the hometown. So I'm gonna start from the beginning. So I grew up in Fort Lauderdale. Actually, I was moving all around. My mom's was in the Marine Corps. So I was born in Japan, raised a little bit in California. Then I moved to Florida, and that's when I kind of started to really find myself, because that was the last time I moved. So I started friends and, you know, meet people with similar interests as me.
What age? High school age? Is that when you got to Fort Lauderdale?
Middle school. So all through elementary school, I moved around pretty much every single year. So I never got down, you know, find a sport that I really liked, found any hobbies. It was kind of just school, home. That's pretty much it, you know?
Yeah.
So
what part of Fort Lauderdale were you in?
Are you familiar with the Sunrise and Plantation? Yeah, that's where I'm from.
I've been to a show at that Sunrise Amphitheater. Yeah, that's a nice area out there.
Got everything down there. They got the Panthers Stadium, I believe. I don't know if it's still the hockey stadium, but they change it pretty much every year. It was like the BB&T Center one year, then they changed it. But
Yep. That's awesome, man. So you got your roots together, and then were you into flying into airplanes then? Did you build models and things like that, or were you?
Well, that's a great question. You said models. Yeah. I got into origami. Really, I got an origami set for Christmas. Because like I said, I was just into random things. I never really found something I was dedicated to. So I got into origami. That led to me building like a whole bunch of crazy things. You know, I was making like balloons out of paper. It was crazy.
Crazy paper airplanes. I know where this is going.
Yeah, and that's what it led to. I was watching YouTube videos. I was a YouTube kid, and I started to see like people making fighter jets out of paper, which was insane. So I started trying to do that. I never got to make one. It was just too hard. But that's what got me into planes, because then I was like, okay, how can I make this fly? How can I? Because I was already making, you know, frogs, roses, jewelry boxes that made out of paper, balloons. I was making everything out of paper. And yeah, I got into planes. So crazy enough, I started checking out aerodynamic books at my middle school library to see how do planes work. How can I get my paper plane to fly like that?
Yeah.
300-pound plane in the sky. So
Yeah.
that's how it really kicked off. Started checking out books, and then that led to checking out like a history of aviation books, history of like military jets. So like way back to like the radial engines. That's what I was starting to learn every spec of every plane. And man, that's when I really fell in love with middle school. But I didn't actually start flying until I got to college. Because all throughout high school, I kind of forgot about it. I thought I was being a nerd. So I tried to do cool stuff.
Right.
I was, trying to be popular, hanging out with the cool kids. And aviation kind of just fell in the back burner. Never thought it was possible to afford flight training. I thought it was so intangible. So
Right.
I just put it back for so long. Another thing that's crazy, I was using this app. It's called Infinite Flight. It's on the app. And me and some friends off of online, we created a Facebook page, and it started growing. And so we created like our own community playing online on that flight sim when I was in middle school. We got an app called, it's a radio app. And you could use it as ATC, and it's based off of Wi-Fi. So anyone around the world can use this app. And
that's cool.
Yeah, we had people acting as ATC. We were flying like actual SIDS and stars and approaches. And airport.
Wow.
Infinite flight.
I gotta look that up.
Yeah, it's Infinite Flight, and I didn't have the money to get X-Plane or anything, so it was just a little $5 app on the Apple Store. So yeah, that's when it really got serious. But like I said, I thought I was being a nerd at the time, so I kind of just forgot about it when I went to high school. Yeah, so it's a long story, but I'm gonna just keep on going.
No, man. That's what we're doing, man. We got the 30-minute or 15-minute video that you put out. We want to deep dive into this, man.
Right, because as you're sitting here rattling through your story, there's other people watching this that are completely connecting with what you're saying.
Right, totally,
yeah. So that's what really got me deep dive and really playing Infinite Flight with those friends. And yeah, we had a Facebook page. Had airport diagrams. I had everything. It was kind of crazy. Like, it was at the time, Charlotte was my favorite airport because it was so complex. But now Charlotte like sucks, which is
yeah.
But yeah, I just loved it so much. So yeah, high school I forgot about it. Then it wasn't until college. I actually went to college to study in health science. And,
why'd you pick that?
Honestly, it was just what was around me in high school.
Right.
Everyone they wanted to be nurses, doctors, physical therapists. It was dentists. It was just the thing. Like the medical field, I don't know why, but in high school, at least when I went to, it was like pushed heavily. It just seemed like the easiest route to do.
Right.
And yeah, that's what it was. So I went to Florida A&M University in Tallahassee, Florida, to study health science. And I was there on a band scholarship too. Yeah, I didn't mention that, but yeah, I was in the band all through high school too. Playing snare drum, and that's how I got my scholarship to go to college. And
cool.
So I got my scholarship before I even got accepted. So once I got my scholarship, I was like, okay, what do I pick now? Like, what major do I pick? So
yeah,
it kind of just fell in my lap. I was like, boom, health science. It's easy.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I picked that, stuck with it all throughout college. Didn't give up, even though I hated it. I'll be honest. It sucked. And it wasn't until my third year after the whole 2020 pandemic, all that stuff happened.
You were in college, the lockdown and all that.
That was my second year of college. So,
man.
And I was kind of just sitting around working random jobs. I worked at like Jimmy John's, UPS. I did a whole bunch of random jobs during that time because, I had nothing else to do. Classes were online.
Right.
And it wasn't until, what was that? Summer of 2021, my mom came up and we went on a road trip to what was that? Panama City. So it's not that far from Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Road trip. And my mom was asking me, she was like, so what are you gonna do? It's your third year, like you don't have any plans. And I feel like everyone's parents do that when they're in college, like,
yeah. The pressure's on.
Right.
Yeah, the pressure's on. It's my third year saying, she's like, what are you gonna do? And I was like, honestly, I don't know. I don't like my major. Like, I don't know what to switch my major to because I'm in my third year. I honestly, like, I was just lost at the time. And I told her I was going to do trucking. It was just a random thing that just popped in my head. I was like, I'm going to become a truck driver. You know, they make a lot of money. The road, and you know, it's stable. And she was like, why do you want to be a truck driver? Like, you're in college, you're getting a health science degree, you're a great kid, you're in band scholarship, all this and that. And I was like, I don't know, it's just something about it. I just want to do trucking. And so I thought about it. That was on the way there to Panama City. On the way back from Panama City, I kind of was just thinking, like, my mom thinks I'm dumb. Like, so I thought of another idea. I was like, hey, Mom, I'm going to go to flight school. I'm going to follow my childhood dreams. I was like, I'm going to become a pilot. I'm going to finally do it. She's like, you just told me you want to be a truck driver. Like, what are you talking about? So I was like, just trust me with this one. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to be successful in it, and just trust me. I promise you. I was like, you don't have to put any money down. He's like, I got the money. I was like, don't worry about it, because she's already, put some money into my college. She's already done my books, my apartment. She's already done so much.
Right.
Like, I got it. Don't worry about it. Just let me do my thing. And so that's all started, was June 20.
Well, you cut out June when?
June 2021.
2021.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So that's when that's when I knew, when I said it to my mom, that's when I knew I had to do it. Like, I couldn't let her down. Like I said, she's a Marine, so she's very strong. You know, she's tight. You say it, you're gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't mess around. So
she's probably been around a few pilots too, being in the Marine Corps and all that.
Yeah,
around aviation,
Yeah, especially when we were in Japan. I'm sure she was around a lot of pilots, because it's like a naval air base, Air Force.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think you want to cross a Marine mom. That sounds like trouble.
Yeah.
So was it kind of at that moment when you were like, well, I'm gonna focus on doing this and use the resources that you had to start getting involved in aviation, right? Is that kind of?
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't have any. I mean, the only resource I had was the internet. Like, I didn't know anyone that was flying.
Right.
Only thing I was really tied into was like the airplane spotter pages on Instagram. That was my only still tie. I still followed a little bit, because I still love the aesthetic of planes all throughout high school and college. But I was still kind of out of tune on how to actually do it, because, like I said, I was just in love with the aesthetics. Like, I never knew, okay, you need to do a solo, you need to do a cross country, you need a private pilot. I had no idea. I thought it was just train to get your commercial and go to the airlines. So
right.
I still didn't know what I was going to do. So once I said it, that's when after we got home from Panama City, I did the research. I got a job at the airport, because I was like, I could leave work and go fly, or I could go fly and go straight to work.
Which airport?
It was Tallahassee International Airport.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So you're starting your private.
Yep, starting my private in Tallahassee.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you were paying for that out of pocket then?
With my working on the line I was working at Millionaire FBO.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So for my $14 an hour, I was basically flying one lesson every 2 weeks, or maybe like twice a week if I wanted to splurge a little bit,
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's expensive, man.
Yeah, it's expensive.
So were you starting to kind of network, and you were meeting more pilots and everything, because you're working at the FBO, right? Were you? Yeah,
I was networking with everybody I could. I always kept on hearing, oh, you're a private pilot, don't worry about it now. Stuff like that. But I just kept on talking, like,
yeah.
I was meeting, a whole bunch of NetJets guys, a whole bunch of FlexJet guys, medevac guys. Like, I was networking with helicopter pilots, just regular guys that are weekend warriors, I guess you call them, that just pop out their plane. I was talking to every plane I touched. I was like, hey, I'm working on my private pilot, about to go do my solo. And it's crazy, because everyone seems like super excited when you tell them that you're getting vacation, and they're almost more excited than like anyone that you would talk to it about.
Some of that is, I remember, you remember certain aspects of your training, like your first solo, and all that stuff is super exciting when it's brand new, and that's like branded into your brain, still today I think about that. Yeah. I remember my first solo going around the pattern, we were doing touch and goes. It was out in Rapid City, South Dakota, and I had that microphone on the cable, like swinging around, woo,
That's awesome.
Yeah, Yeah, man, pilots were so cool.
What about, I bet you had it was a little overwhelming for me at first when I got a glimpse into this private jet world and you're like, holy cow, people are really rolling around like this.
Yeah, I'll tell you, this is my whole thought process. It was when I started first getting into planes in middle school, I was like, I know a lot. I'm reading these books, I know a whole bunch. Then I got into infinite flight and I started learning about, the approach plates and all that. And I was like, I don't know anything, but now I know a lot.
Yeah.
I could go fly a jet, And then I got into working at the FBO. And I'm like, I know nothing about aviation because there's just this whole world. Like, I was just focused on the airline side. Yeah. And when you get to the private side, you realize like you have like catering, you have 2 different types of fuel, like you have de-icing, you have chalks, you have to chalk the planes, I didn't know you had to dump the lab. Like, I was like,
yeah.
This is my job. But on the ramp, you do so much and you learn so much. It's like people think it's kind of a job where it's like, I don't know, working in a warehouse, something where if you're behind the scenes, nobody's going to really care. But you have a lot of responsibility working on that ramp.
Totally. And you got to know how to fuel the air, all these different planes properly and how they work. And yeah,
you have to know everything. And I've seen incidents before. People have wrecked some of these jets. Towing the planes, not having the wing walker at night or something. And
right.
More $1 jet on the ramp.
Or if the guy says he wants, 800 pounds of fuel and you put in 800 gallons, it could be a big problem. Yeah. You got to be careful for sure.
You really, it's an important job. But like I said, man, I've met so many people, so much people. That was the best job I ever had, So
yeah.
Did that for a year. Like I said, I was talking to everyone down to the helicopter pilots, asking them for advice. Because we're all here. The book knowledge is pretty much all the same all the way around. It's just, the skill of flying the aircraft. That's what's different. So
as you talk to all these people, that's what Mike and I are always, pushing on the networking thing. As you talk to these people, you hear some of their stories, you pick up this little tidbit here, this little tidbit over there, and, it goes together into something that makes sense. But so you're working on your private. Did you maintain that once every 2 week schedule throughout the whole thing, or because that seems like a recipe for wasting a whole bunch of time and money?
It sure was. I'll tell you that. I ended up spending $17,000 on my private, which is
oh my goodness,
a lot of money. And pretty much every dime I made at Millionaire went straight into flying. So I was flying every 2 weeks. It wasn't until I got to my cross-country flights to where I started flying once a month, because that was like $500, $600 a flight,
They're longer. It's not the 1 hour lesson, now you're taking, it's 2 hours in the airplane.
So you soloed and everything there, going once a week.
I soloed at 24 hours, 25 hours.
That's really good.
So, I thought it was bad because I was on Instagram and people were like, I soloed in 9 hours. And it's like, how? How did you?
Because they're flying every day. Those are the guys flying every day.
Most likely.
Did you solo at the Tallahassee airport?
Yep, I did. I completed my whole private at the Tallahassee. Soloed there, and it was amazing. Especially once I got to fly solo by myself. The first thing I did was go right along that coast.
Oh yeah, buddy.
Right, that was the first thing I did was do my maneuvers right along that coast, and it was so inspiring because it's like, man, I could get paid to do this one day, and that's what. The setting was everything to me. That's what motivated me. It's like, man, I'm paying to do this, but I know one day I'll be getting paid as much as I'm getting paying per hour to do the same thing.
Yeah.
That's
awesome, man.
So you finished. How long ago did you get your private then? So you started June 2021,
and I got it. I got my private on June 2022. Yeah, it was a year. It was pretty much a year. Yeah, exactly a year. I did my discovery flight in June, but I didn't start my actual lessons till August. So I guess it's like 11 months-ish, but pretty much a year.
Yeah. Oh, a year. You got your private in 1 year.
And then you graduated, right? Is that what?
Yep. Graduated. So I got my private in June 2022. And honestly, I'm telling you, that whole school year was brutal because I was taking full workload, like not playing any games, especially that spring semester. I was taking, I believe, like 21 credits and in college, and I was flying full time and I was working full time. So
wow,
it was
you're a hustler, man.
Yeah, it was go, go, go. And like I was still trying to have a social life because I'm in a fraternity too. So I was still, social life, being active, and it beat me down. So
you were sleeping like 4 hours a night, man.
Some night I went, had a whole day of work and flying, studied a little bit, went out to a party, and like the next morning I was up fueling Delta before they leave at 4 a.m. Like, so it's like I wouldn't even sleep some of these days. Like,
that's awesome.
I seen the vision, I was like, if I could get past, I could do anything, like working. How many hours a week do you guys work? Like maybe like 20, maybe
of actual work, or being gone, maybe 20.
Flying,
maybe.
Very little. I mean, I keep myself busy with all kinds of stuff, but
if I could do that, I'm pretty sure I could be successful in the job. So I graduated in December 2022. So that final semester, that's when I had my breaking point. I was like, I can't work anymore. I can't fly anymore. Like, I just had to focus on school because my grades were not the best. I was getting like barely getting B's and getting C's. And I was like, I can't do this. My GPA is like barely hanging on to a 2.5. And I couldn't drop out. That wasn't an option. So I had to leave out all distractions. I wasn't active in my fraternity anymore. I stopped working at the airport. I stopped flying. I kind of just was like, focus on school, get out. My whole last semester, I grinded it out, 18 credits. Finally graduated. That was the best time of my life. Right there.
Oh, yeah.
But
that's good. You have the ability. I've said for years that, the thing that makes the difference of whether you're going to make it or not. Actually, my direct quote is, how do you tell a good pilot from a bad pilot? And that is his or her ability to distinguish what's important from what's not important. And that's what you did in that situation. You shut it all down to finish up the school properly.
Right. Yeah, that's what's important. Like, you got to finish what you start. And like the flying was fun. Like that's where my true passion is at. But
telling this story, I can remember when I finally finished college, and I had a 2-year degree in aviation, then I got a 4-year degree in business. I finally finished the last class, and I was doing all that flying on top of that, and I was thinking, man, now all I have to do is focus on airplanes, man. It was such a good feeling because you were doing all that college stuff that you didn't want to do, and flying was really where your heart was, and it really is a great feeling.
Amazing, especially because people know that you fly and they're always asking you about it, and it's like it just sucks because you gotta go home and study like disability society, and I'm studying like drug abuse and all these crazy health science classes, and it's like I really don't care. Chemistry,
you're right. You're right.
But so I graduated. That's when it honestly got tough. That's why I don't talk about it in my last video. I was down bad after I graduated because I didn't have any job. I only had my private. Couldn't go anywhere with that.
But you totally completed your private, and then you had a 4-year degree also. Yeah. Oh, great. So, but there was you didn't know what to do or what to apply for or what.
Right? Before I graduated, I was still trying to get jobs in health science because I realized, like, man, I kind of just wasted this last year and not focusing on getting a job, which what everyone else was doing. They're doing internships, they're doing this, and that.
Right.
And my final semester, I started to apply to health and safety jobs. Honestly, the last 2 months of my my semester, I finally started applying to jobs.
So you were thinking, I'll get a real job to make enough money to finish my flight training.
Exactly what I could get a job with my degree, get at least $50,000 a year. That means I could put 10 to 15 grand into flying every year, which was, I got my private in 17. So I was like, okay, if I do the math, all I have to do is work this job for 3 years, maybe 4, I'll have all my ratings and I'll be good to go. But I couldn't get the job. I didn't have the OSHA 30 certification. I had the degree, but I didn't have that certification to get a health and safety job. So I was applying to hundreds of jobs. I probably applied over like 500 jobs within like 2 months. To be honest, like I was just going
anywhere in the U.S. or were you willing to move? Or
U.S. I was applying because UPS has this job in like Turkey, health and safety specialist, and I was applying to jobs like that. I was like, just take me there. I'll go anywhere
What's
to work.
OSHA 30? What is this, another schooling you got to go to or something to get
Yeah,
this certification?
it's Occupational Safety and Health Association.
Right. Yeah, I know what OSHA is, but this OSHA, whatever
OSHA 30, yeah, it's basically just a certification that allows you to enforce the regulations, I guess, or it gives you the knowledge about it. I want to say enforce, but yeah, it equips you with the knowledge to go into the workplace and say like, hey, I know about health and safety, so hire me.
Right.
That's basically what.
So now you're at this next precipice, like, all right, am I going to go get this OSHA certification?
Yeah.
Or am I going to shove all my chips in on this flying?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I was lost, I'll be honest. And yeah, so I graduated December 9th. So I was sitting on my butt for about 3 months working. I ended up getting a job at Five Guys Burgers, flipping burgers with, like I said, a degree in my hand. And that was one of the humblest experiences I ever had is, having education and being around people who don't have education, but you can't put that over their heads. Especially like, I remember I mentioned I have my pilot license when I was on the job and everyone was like, dude, what are you even doing here? Like they're like, what are you doing here? That's like, everyone started asking questions. They're like, yeah, because when I did the interview, I didn't tell them about all my high success. Because one thing my mom told me was like, hey, usually if you go into a lower job, like working at a restaurant, don't tell them you have all this and that. Because sometimes they'll be like, they won't hire you because you're way above. So I didn't mention that I had my degree or I had my pilot license in the interview. So when I mentioned it, everyone was blown away. But, like I said, I started to humble myself. I couldn't act like I was better than anyone. To this day, I'm still cool with my supervisor there. I follow him on Instagram. Like, he's a great guy.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So, all right. So I'm going to get up in tangent.
So you're So you're at Five Guys.
Yeah.
And you mentioned in your video regarding the Five Guys thing that it actually was a humbling experience. You might recommend it to people actually because it kind of regrounded you, right? Because you're in college, you're doing all these things, you're kicking ass, man. You're doing your solo and all this stuff. Then it's all done, and now you're at Five Guys.
Yeah, not Five Guys, cutting potatoes at 7 a.m, like hand by hand. Like we hand cut the potatoes, hand smush the patties.
I do like their fries, man. There's a reason. Yeah, it was fresh cut. Woo.
That's that labor. You're paying for the labor.
So how long were you there for?
I was there for 2 months. So I finally got a job. So during the time I was working at Five Guys, I kind of had something click on my head where I was like, okay, just go back to working at the airport. I was like, what are you doing here? Just try to get a job back.
And where was the Five Guys at? Tallahassee, or are you back at Fort Lauderdale?
I was still in Tallahassee.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And I never left Tallahassee. That was the thing. Like I told myself I can't go back home. I have to keep on going forward, keep on growing. So I started thinking I was just work back at the airport. So I started applying at higher paying FBOs, in other states, most likely up like north, like White Plains, like they pay like $20 an hour up there. I was getting 14. Or like the guys out in like Dallas or Denver where I'm at now, or LA, like they're paying good money where I was getting 14 to do the same job. So I applied to those jobs. And I wasn't hearing back from them because I just needed a response quick. So I was just shooting out applications. And then something finally clicked. I was like, what about airport operations? I was like, you see them every now and then, but I don't know what they really do. So I started applying to airport ops jobs. I applied to like Lakeland airport ops. I was applying to like Fort Myers airport ops. I was applying everywhere in Florida. And I finally got the one for Tallahassee. I got an interview. I applied to Tallahassee 3 times and they denied me 3 times or 2 times. And they finally get that last interview. And they're like, yeah, we want to give you the job. But we need you to do one more interview. It was like 3 interviews. They wanted me to get the job, but they're like, it's only you and another guy. And they're kind of just playing around, they're giving me the runaround through like giving me so many interviews. And after I already got denied so many times. And in the midst of that break where they were waiting to tell me when the next interview was, Midland called. And they said, hey, we want you to come out, you can come out whenever you're ready. You did great, because I did that interview somewhere in like January. This
a virtual interview?
Yeah. This happened all within like December, January phase where I was applying to all these airport ops jobs. And yeah, Midland called me back to like, hey, we want you to come out. You already did this first interview. That's good enough for us. Come out here. What do you want to get paid? And they're like, what do you expect? We see on your application it says 52, but what do you really want? And I was like, I don't know. What are you offering? Like
102.
Yeah. I was like, what are you offering? It was like, we could start you out at what was it? 56,802. I remember the exact number.
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
you're like,
I'm going.
That's the ticket you need. Now, to your credit on this, a couple key things I want to take away so far that I'm getting here is number one, you didn't have any kind of aviation degree, right? So you were able to convince these guys. You got an art and science degree that, hey, look, I know planes, I love planes, I fuel planes, I got a private pilot license, I can run an airport, right? So
that's exactly what happened.
So you had to be pretty charming in that interview, I had to say.
I'll tell you, that's why Tallahassee didn't hire me and nobody else. I applied to so many airports for the ops position, but like you're saying, you have to have an aviation management degree or aeronautical science or something. Maybe they might even lean towards a business degree a little bit. But I had a hardcore health science degree, nothing to do with aviation. But like you said, I marketed myself. I just sold myself. Like you said, I was working on the ramp for a year. I got my private pilot license. I know how to maneuver around the airfield. I know the signs. I know the communications. I know a lot. You know what I mean? I just don't know Part 139, and that's the exact regulation on what governs airports. And that's what I really care about. It's I believe it's TSA Part 1542 and FAR Part 139. And those are the regulations that keep a certified airport running. And I had no clue. So Midland, they asked me that when they offered me the job. They're like, hey, do you know by a chance, or in my first interview, they asked me, do you know by a chance about Part 139? And I'm honest, I was like, sir, I didn't. But I'll go look it up. They told me what it was, and I wrote it down. And I studied the crap out of Part 139. So they really loved that I came prepared. After, when they tried to speak to me again, they were like, man, I love that you came prepared, because the people that got aviation degrees don't even know what Part 39 is.
Right. That's nice. Yeah. No, I don't know about it right now, but the next time we meet, I'm going to teach you all about it.
Yeah. Another thing that I'm picking up from you too, that I think is part of your success is, and we get this a lot from viewers and stuff, is you have something that a lot of people don't have, and you're willing to drop anything and move anywhere, right? And that's a huge obstacle for people. And part of it's your age, which is great. But there's a lot of people in your age group that they're like, I mean, and it might have been your background because you moved a lot as a kid. You're not scared of it. But, you go from Fort Lauderdale, you're in Tallahassee, you're in Midland, now you're up in Denver when you're talking and this is all in like 5 years, right? So is there something, can you comment on that to the viewers? I know a lot of people that I speak with, and honestly, Sean and I haven't moved a lot. So we're in the other category a little bit, but people tell me, professionals that I talk to, and not just in flying, but being able to relocate and meet new people and new experiences are some of the best things you could possibly do, even though it's scary. I mean, what would you say about that? Man,
I would say it's, you build your value by changing environments. That's what I believe. So the more you move, the more knowledge you gain, the more experiences you gain, and it just makes you a better person overall.
I gotcha.
I grew up in Fort Lauderdale. I went to a school in, like, I guess you could say, the hood. So it's like I went people that don't really care about where they're gonna go in life. I was surrounded by good people because I was in the band, but man, some people, they just don't care. And once you realize there's more outside of that, and you like I went to college and I realized, oh wow, there's actually Black people that want to succeed, that want to be doctors, engineers, lawyers, physicians, like everything. There's people that want to succeed. But then I got comfortable there because I was only surrounded by Black people. And when you're surrounded just by people that look like you, you don't really grow. You don't know how to communicate with other people. So once I graduated, I was like, man, I need to go somewhere. It might be so direct, but I need to go somewhere where the white people are. You know, I need to get out of you know,
Yeah, I don't know if you can get any further than Fort Lauderdale, Midland, Texas. I used
yeah,
to fly freight into Midland. This is the most desolate wasteland. I
yeah,
mean, it's
yeah.
it's just
So that's why I
crazy.
ended up going. Yeah, I
Well,
was
you
like,
know, how I know about it is from that movie Friday Night Lights. It was all
yeah,
filmed.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
back when I was flying, I had to do one trip. I was out of Midland. I was like the floater guy flying this caravan, and then we had another caravan in Lubbock, Texas. So
mhm,
I rented a car and drove from Midland, Texas to Lubbock. And
yeah.
I mean, anybody who says this country's overpopulated has not done that drive.
They've
I didn't
never
see
been.
another human being for like 2 hours. It's nothing but
Yeah,
oil fields as far as the eye can see with no
yeah.
trees, no nothing. It
Nothing's
was
Man.
out. I
amazing.
don't know why I went out there without researching. I'll be honest. But I once they said 56 grand, I started my bags. I started texting my mom. I was like, "Yeah, I'm moving to Midland." I started doing everything I could do. I stopped spending money. I started saving for gas money. Started selling my stuff. Like I sold my PlayStation, my TV, my drum set. I sold everything to make that trip. I'll be honest.
So you didn't do any relocation packs or anything. You just packed your car up and drove over there and found it a place to rent, or is that?
Yeah, no, they didn't help me with recall. They gave me 1,500 bucks once I got there, but they gave it to me like 4 weeks into the job. So honestly, it didn't
Wow.
help. That I think they should have gave it to me before, but
Yeah.
yeah, but so yeah, so I packed in my bags, moved out to Midland, 18-hour drive, didn't stop once except to go pee. But I just hammered it, went there, and like you said, if you drove around Texas, it's not overpopulated. From Dallas to Midland, there's nothing. So
Yeah.
and it takes like 6 hours to get through the state like that. So
It is
yeah, I
big
got
ass.
So
there.
you didn't know anyone literally. Did you rent an apartment when you first got there, or how'd you
Yeah,
handle that?
got my housing. As soon as they called me, I started looking for housing. I found a place that would get me in within a month. They gave me the call in January, like the last week of January, and I started February like 17th or 19th. So almost like 2 weeks, 3 weeks that I got all my stuff together and solidified all my bills and everything. So when I moved in, I was good to go. And like my dad was telling me, he was like, man, just go out there for a week, drive around, see if you like it. And I was like, no, I'm going. Like, so just went.
So here you are, the most gung ho to make this work possible.
Yeah,
And it still didn't go quite like you thought, right? So describe
okay.
how the job was and everything.
It didn't. So yeah, I got there. Honestly, at first I loved it. It was the best job ever. Better than working on the ramp because now I'm actually getting paid good at my salary. I have benefits, it was great. And it just wasn't, I don't know how to explain. It just wasn't what I thought what it was. I thought it was going to be more out on the ramp, checking, doing more inspections. But once I actually started to learn the job, it was more of you need to keep the airport running as a whole. It's not just airplanes and runways and taxiways. So I realized we started to do badging. When we got to badging, I was like, this is a whole other beast. Badging is difficult. Cameras and security doors, like security entrances. What else we got? Parking. We had to deal with parking. We had to deal with just regular calls because everyone calls the airport for anything. So we had
Oh
to take
yeah, yeah.
calls. Everything to keep the airport running. That's exactly what I was doing.
And it was
But
all your responsibility, really.
all of it, everything, even emergencies, like aircraft emergencies, we're handling those. Yeah, it's a tough job, to be honest, because
Who did you report to? Like the government or something, or what?
no, we had basically the city. The city runs
Okay,
our job's in the city, but my direct supervisor was just the airport operations supervisor.
gotcha.
But yeah, we're governed by the city, but the FAA governs the airport. But we follow. It's weird.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're following FAA rules to keep the airport running, though. So yeah, like I said, Part 139 and TSA 1542. That's what you're governing the airport off of, and you also have your manuals like the Airport Emergency Plan and the Airport Security Plan, ASP and AEP. and you
Oh
have to
yeah, you got to simulate there's a crash and all that. I mean, right? Yeah,
stations, bomb threats, everything, the whole 9 yards, and you're the centralized point. So I'm working hand in hand with law enforcement, hand in hand with ARF, and with TSA, airlines. We're the centralized point for everything. And
sounds like a lot of work. Was it a lot
it
of work?
is. It's a lot of work, a whole bunch of stress, because sometimes you're the only one in the office, and let's say you get the phone rings, the red phone rings, which is the emergency phone, and you're like, oh my gosh, so like now, because now you got to answer this emergency. Now you got 8 air traffic controllers. They're shooting out all this information, exactly what we as pilots tell them, like, oh, this many souls on board, this much fuel on board. We take all that information and we send that out to all the different resources. So we send out to the RF, but depending on what emergency it is, whether it's a C, which is commercial, or it's just a regular alert 2, we have to dispatch the right services. So if we dispatch it wrong, we could screw everything up. If they say, oh, a 737 is landing with a fuel leak, or I don't know, the engine's on fire, and we just doing a regular alert 2, it's going to screw everything up, because that means the amount of emergency service is not going to come out to handle the 737. And so it's a lot of pressure. And everything's recorded. So if you make a mistake, you can be investigated. We have to do a whole bunch of reports after. So even if someone falls in the airport, you have to do a whole report, because if they sue or something legal happens, they'll come back to say, hey, where's the documents? If those documents are off, they're going to be like, you said, come in. Yeah.
Man.
So.
Yeah.
So you're out there, the newness, the freshness is wearing off this job.
Yeah.
And I mean, so you've been out there. When did you get out there? This year. It was.
Yeah, this year. I moved there February 16th.
February. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Yeah. So February 2023, for those of you watching, it is now September 2023. So at some point you started saying, all right, maybe I should start looking at that instrument rating, or how did it go down?
So yeah, once I got out there, I started to realize, like, I'm in aviation, but I'm not pursuing flying. I was just working too much, and I was really tired every time I got off work. I never actually spent money on flying out while I was out there. So yeah, I thought about ATP. My friend, he brought ATP up to me before I left Tallahassee, and he was like, dude, I'm going, you should go. And I told him, like, dude, there's no way I can get $100,000 loan. There's no way I could not work for 6, 7, 8 months, whatever. It's just impossible. And I was like, you can do that because your parents support you and your parents will give you money. I was kind of like, I was like, you got it. I support you, and everything you do is just not for me. So.
And this was a guy that had the same degree as you, right? From college.
Yeah, he has a degree.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. And like, we're best friends. Like, we pretty much call each other every day now because we're both at ATP, and man, that's my guy. But so when I was in Midland, it was about month three. I was like, man, I hate this place. Work. I just hated being in the city. There's nothing out there. It sucks. There's no fun. All you got is like tacos and burritos and beer. that's all Midland has. Like, yeah. It sucks. Dust. So
yeah, you're going from South Florida and California, where there's anything you want all the time.
You can go anywhere. But yeah, Midland, month 3 is when I was like, okay, you need to figure something out, because this is not, you can't do this for 3 years. You're going to go crazy working here for 3 years. So I started looking at ATP. I was like, hey, let me give it a try. Let me see if it is worth it. I hear everyone talking crap about it on YouTube and all the social media, like, hey, they don't care about you. You're just a number. They're this, and that. And I'm like, okay, let me do the research for myself. So I started calling ATP, started doing the research, started, building up a whole list of other flight schools that I can compare. And I started calling left and right. I was going crazy everywhere. One thing after another, here I am with ATP's process, and they're like, all you need is the loan. And I'm like, okay, that's, I wasn't expecting.
There's always the money part.
Yeah, always the money part. So because they have you do everything first. So you get your first class, you do this, you do that. They do what's called an admissions flight, and you got to go to a location, fly around to see if you're fit and if you like and if they like you. And so I did everything on the front end, and then they're like, yeah, just get the loan and you're good to go.
Where'd you do the admission flight at in Midland?
I did it in Austin, Texas.
So, okay. What's that like?
It was like, what does the admission flight consist of?
Yeah, was it just training flight?
With an instructor, and they just have you do maneuvers. For me, since I came in what they call credit private, I had to, basically demonstrate that I hold the skill of a private pilot, which was extremely hard because I didn't fly all after I got my private. I did one flight after I got my private with the Freind. And that was it. I didn't fly all fall. I didn't fly any spring. So when I finally got there into the missions flight, I was like, dude, like, I can't fly. Like, I suck. But he was like, I understand. He was like, most credit private students come in. He's like, you're on the better side. Some people come in not flying after 10 years and they want to go to ATP. So you're perfectly fine. So
good.
They just do maneuvers, do takeoff and landings. Simple. Yeah, it's very simple. So I did that.
And your cost, because you have a private's like 80,000 or something. Is that right? Or what?
70. Mine was 75 at the time. Now it's 80.
Okay.
They raised it a couple months. It's just
we had just called them not too long ago and got some of these numbers. The Zero to Hero program. What was it? 97, Mike? Was that right?
103 or something. 103. I think. Or something.
Now, it's up. But
Okay. So you're like, I gotta get the loan. So they offer you two things, right? Or something. Is that what?
Yeah. So they offer to you could either do, well, actually, I guess three. So you could do Sallie Mae, Meritized, or a personal loan. Or under that personal loan, they'll classify that as paying out of pocket too. So yeah. So I first applied to Sallie Mae, and mind you, let me get the dates. This is in April. So April, this is when I'm applying for the loan. Sallie Mae, they basically said, I need a cosigner. He's like, we'll accept you. You just need a cosigner. Like, everything else checks out. But like, once again, me just being macho, I was like, I'm not asking my parents for money. I just hate it. I'd rather work for it than ask for it.
Right.
So yeah. So I was like, I can't do that. I can't ask anybody. So I want to apply for Meritized. What Meritized does, they take your GPA and your credits that you did in college and your driving record. They take more than account than just your credit score and your credit history.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a pretty solid, GPA. I mean, I graduated with a 2.8. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. So
no. Yeah.
And I only failed maybe like 2 classes in college. So I guess they took that into account that I was like an A, B, C every now and then student.
Yeah.
And I got approved the next day, which is insane. I applied for the max. The max is 96 grand, I believe.
Okay.
I didn't want to work and I didn't want to pay for my bills out of pocket.
Okay.
So
that gives you a little money for housing too, then.
Yeah. Yeah.
So ATP's helping you walk through all this, right? I mean,
they do not. That's one thing people forget. The ATP is still Part 61, so they let you do a whole bunch of stuff on your own. Still,
gotcha.
Like, they don't. But their website is.
But they are in cahoots. They are in cahoots with these people, so they're
they're working together. So when you apply for the loan, they approve you, and then they basically send your loan to ATP. You never see your own loan, so they send it to ATP, and the ATP from there disperses your loan to you.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does the Emeritus, do they do? I know the Sallie Mae, they were doing, like the 1 year deferred till after
payments or something.
Yeah. Do they do something similar?
Yeah, my contract is basically I don't have to pay anything throughout training, and once I finish my training, I have to start paying interest of $150 a month, and I pay that $150 a month for 18 months. They kind of say until you get to the regionals, which is, it goes hand in hand. 18 months is about how much time it'll take you to build 1,500 hours, maybe less. But 18 months is how long I have to pay until I start making full payments. And my payments a month, they are $11,997.
Okay.
So
That's
not
pretty good.
bad, but because my friend in Orlando, I think his is maybe 1,400. I think, I don't know, but it's a
Okay.
little, but it fluctuates. So I don't know what goes into it. That's why I didn't touch on it that much in my last video, because I know people rates are like jacked up.
Yeah,
2,000.
yeah, it just depends
Yeah.
on different factors.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. But no, that's a good rough estimate for our viewers. And then how many years do you have to pay that off, you think?
I have it's in months. I think it was
Oh,
like,
okay.
I took the longest option, I'll be honest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, no, no. Yeah, that makes
52 months.
sense.
I
Yeah.
don't know how, I think that's 20
Okay.
years. I
Cool.
think it's
Cool.
20. But
Oh,
if you take
wow.
the less the months there are, the higher your payment is. So I took the longest one and got the lowest payment. The way I looked at it is, yeah, I could pay more a month. You know, whenever I get to the
Yeah.
regionals, like, I don't know if I want to go to the regionals right now, but wherever I job I do get flying a jet, I'm at least going to be making a minimum of, I'd say at least 70 grand or
Oh,
60
yeah,
in there.
for sure.
And I know once I hit the majors, I'm making well over that. And when you break it down per month, you're at least making like somewhere between like 6,000 and like 15,000 per month. So it's like, you could very well commit, 3 grand to your loan in 1 month just by
Oh,
living
yeah.
frugal on the other side of like your living and food and car and stuff like that.
Right. So
Yeah.
you called, let me just get this down like steps, because I'm just envisioning somebody watching this video like, all
Yeah.
right, how do I do this? What do I got to do?
Yeah.
And
Right.
so you call up ATP. You said
Mhm.
I have my private. I'm interested in joining your program. I want to get through CFI, whatever. Yeah, actually, how does that work? Is there one program, or do you straight up tell them in the beginning, I just want to go to commercial, or I want to get my CFI and work for you? Is that decided in the beginning? How's that work?
So it is one program. It's two, I guess you could say. It's one outline though. So you have the 100-hour multi program, and then you have the regular single engine program. But they both follow the track of private, instrument, commercial. Then you do CFI. Then you come back from CFI, you do commercial multi, CFII, and then you do MEI. So, and you finish the program in the multi engine. So you're doing your CFII in a multi as well. So yeah, they get you through the whole thing. That's why I went with ATP. Majority of programs, they take you from private to commercial or private to just CFI, and
Gotcha.
maybe you might get or like maybe, but that's why the other programs are so affordable. Like they're looking like 50 grand, 60 grand, because they're not
that
giving you
multi-engine stuff's
all the
expensive.
tools. Yeah, they're not giving you all the tools. So that's why even like MEI is a rare rating, I think, to get in aviation. I don't think
Yeah.
many people get there.
I don't have one.
Yeah,
You have one, Sean?
I do have my MEI. When I let my CFI expire. So when I had to renew it, I had to go through the whole gambit. And one of the easiest ways to renew it is to add on something else. So I went down to Florida, one of these hurry up, get them done schools, and added my MEI on, which renewed all my, CFI stuff that I had let go. Yeah, don't ever let that go. After you get your CFI, it's a little tip for you. Always do that FERC, that flight instructor renewal course. It's $100 or something, and it's lifetime. Every 2 years, you go on there and do the little quiz online and renew it. But okay, so you get that phone calls over, and you're like, all right, I think I'm gonna do this. You call them back, and then they're like, well, so you went and did the flight first, and then, or maybe that was all in the same meeting. You're like doing paperwork, and you're like, all right, how are you going to pay for this? And then they get you going with the financing. The next day you're approved for financing. Then what? Is it like, well, you get your choice of where you're going to train, or is it all wherever you walked in the door with and started talking to them, or was there a waiting period? Like, well, we can't get you in for 3 months.
Yeah. So how that went down. I'm just backtrack. So after the call, they told me everything I needed. The first thing they recommend you to get is your first class, because if you don't have that, you can't go to basically, or you might be able to fly corporate, because I know
I 100% agree. Yeah, you second class with corporate. I 100% agree. Mike and I say that to people. You're wanting to chase this down, go get your medical early. Find out if you got something going on. It's gonna, cause you to not be able to do it.
and yeah, just make sure all the legal stuff is squared away, you know. So yeah, I did all that, got the loan, like you said, and to get a start date, that was rough because, like I said, I needed housing. I didn't want to sign a lease. That's a whole nother topic. To break my lease, I had to pay 2 months worth of rent and continue to pay them 2 months. So I ended up paying like basically like $5,000 to move out of my apartment. So I was like, dude, I'm not signing. I can't do that again. I don't know how long I'll be in Denver. So I requested housing from them and a start date on the same exact day. So you can request any location you want in the United States. Yeah, anywhere you want to go, they'll make it happen as long as there's availability. But like I said, there are wait times. There's wait periods. So they gave me. I really wanted to do the Austin location because it was right there. It was only like a 4-hour drive. But they said, hey, you could start Austin in June, but housing is not available till October. So I was like, man, that's not going to work. I can't do that. And not every location has housing. So
yeah. So I was going to ask. So ATP has their own housing at a lot of these locations.
They have apartments that they either bought or they're renting, and they'll charge you. But the only thing is you have roommates, which honestly wasn't a big thing to me because I went through college with roommates 4 years.
Right.
So these are. I mean, what's the? Because the money was dispersed to you. You could go get any old apartment. I guess these are deep discounted places. I'm guessing.
Yeah. So they charge your housing through the loan. So I'm paying $850 a month for housing with a roommate right now. And it's pretty good to me, I'll be honest. So, you know, like,
is it right by the airport too and everything?
Yeah, I'm like 10 minutes away from Centennial. Like I'm right.
That's a nice area too around that.
Yeah.
Airport.
Oh yeah. Everything. Yeah, that is nice. That's like new and fresh. Everything.
Yeah,
I like
amazing.
A lot nicer than Midland.
That was another thing. I mean,
What
this
is it?
too. So they gave me options. They said you could do Fort Myers, you could do New Jersey, and you could do Long Beach and Centennial. And that all had housing and start dates on the same day. And I was like, man, I'm not driving 18 hours back home. That drive was brutal. I can't do it. I'm not training in New Jersey. I don't know. It's something about up north that I just don't like. And then Long Beach, they charge more. It's like $3,000 more on top of the program
because it's California.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, the only other option is, Centennial. So I said, give me Centennial. Like, no questions. I didn't even Google it. I don't know what I'm getting myself into. Once I get here, that's when I realized Centennial is the most busiest class Delta in the whole United States.
It's pretty busy.
That place is jumping. Yeah.
So, I got here, and it was honestly a blur. So I'm sorry if I'm skipping over topics.
No, this is fine.
Between April and June, I started June 10th. I started the whole process in April, and I finished the process in like May. So only had to wait about a month. Which wasn't an issue. It got me to 6 months at my job, which I feel like is reasonable to stay at a job, without looking like you just got there.
Yeah.
My 6 months and left. And
were they cool? I mean, they understood you wanted to go flying, right? The people in Midland.
I said, hey, like I really appreciate all the experiences I got out here. I won't take it for granted. I'm still cool with all the guys there. It was a pretty young crew. Everybody was on there, pretty much that worked there. So that was the best job, the second best job I ever had. It was working there. But like I said, I learned so much. I know exactly how airports run and how everything works. And I networked there too. And anytime a pilot came out to get their badge or someone, they're parking, like Southwest pilots or flight attendants came up with the parking passes, I was talking to them like, hey, like, what do you know about this? Or how was your instrument rating? Or did you be a CFI? Or what did you do? And how do you like Southwest? I asked this medevac guy, like, how do you enjoy medevac? And crazy thing is, he went to ATP too. And he started telling me, he's like, do this, do that, do this. And he had so much knowledge, but you just got to open your mouth and talk to people.
That's going to look great in an interview to an airline interview that you managed an airport,
Yeah. Right. And you throw out that FAA Part 30, 130. Is it 139 or 39?
39. Yeah.
Yeah. Throw that out to them. I guarantee no pilot knows what the hell you're talking about.
Honestly, it goes in depth. It's all the way down to cracks on the runway have to be no more than 5 inches wide, 3 inches deep, at a 45-degree angle. Like
Wow.
certain things are, it's like the signs have to be frangibly mounted, and if they're not frangible, they have to be within the safety area of the runway. They have to be frangibly mounted, and all these whole bunch of things. NOTAMs, like I was the one issuing NOTAMs, FICONs, everything working that job. So
Now
I
that
was,
you've gone through the whole ATP gambit, you're in there on the inside now. Or I'm sorry, you know what? Let's save this question. Go back to so you start training in Centennial. When did that start? Did you do the Austin thing first, or you went straight Centennial?
I went straight to Centennial. I just did my admissions flight at Austin, which is just
Okay, gotcha.
1.5
Well, I know you
flight.
said that they could get you in there earlier in Austin and then move.
Yeah, yeah.
So you started at Centennial just a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah, pretty much just about like what is it, September. Just so yeah, June 10th I started. So yeah, maybe like 2 months and some change.
Okay.
So in your video, you say you were right in the middle of a 2-week ground school period. That's how they start you off, right? So yeah, talk about that and then where you're at now.
Yeah, so the first 2 weeks when you get to ATP, they call it Elevate, and basically it's you on a Zoom call with someone down in Jacksonville, and they're just covering every topic of the rating that you're going through. So whether it's private or instrument. Yeah, so every day we covered at least like maybe 4 topics. And it was from 11 to 1 or 11 to 2, something like that. It was like 3-4 hours. Every single day, it was hammering and
Via
talking.
video.
Yeah, Zoom, and they have a whole printout where you can take notes on it. It's extremely organized, but they reiterate to you that you don't need to remember everything here. It's like, this is just an introduction. You don't have to. There's no test after this. This is just so once you get into the plane, you're not confused when someone says, "Hey, let's shoot the ILS 35 right." Like,
Yeah.
you know what an ILS is. You know what it consists of. So that was extremely helpful. So, but after that, after you finish those 2 weeks, they expect you to take your IRA and your FII written that 3rd week. And so that caught me off guard because I thought I had plenty of time. It was like, 21 days from your start date. I'm like, oh, that's plenty of time. And then I finished Elevate, so I'm like, wait, I only have like 6 days left now. So I had to do my IRA and my FII in 6 days. And the FAA was updating the test on that next Monday. So I finished Elevate on a Monday, and 1 week they're changing the test. So I basically had to take my test between Monday and Friday. So I didn't have
Wow. Now,
So you say IRA, you're talking about the instrument written is what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Now I remember. So I've been to ATP for a weekend program. Once I had 1,500 hours, I went down there to one of their locations in Bowling Green, Kentucky, to get my actual ATP. And I did the package with the ATP written exam, and it was the same thing. I was like, man, I'm not going to make it without in this time frame. And they had this software that was so shit hot, man. I mean, it was like they put me in a room in front of this computer, and then it just fires these questions off at you. And I think I sat there for like I don't know, 5 hours maybe, and went through these slides. And then I went and took the test and got a 95. I couldn't believe it, man. I mean, is that how they did it with you?
Yeah, we used Shepherd's Air ATP. So at least after private, you use Shepherd's Air. It's basically an app that has the database of FAA questions, and every time the FAA updates their questions.
Okay.
So, I used that. I grinded Shepherd's Air out for 4 days straight, and just went in and took the test. But it's all about confidence. I feel like if you're confident in yourself, you'll perform well. But if you're going into tests like, I don't know, I only studied for 4 days, then that's when you're going to second guess all your questions and fail.
Right.
So you're deep into the instrument rating right now?
Yeah, I finished with all my instrument training. I'm just waiting for a check ride right now.
Gotcha. How many days do they allot for their instrument rating? Or
I believe it's like a little under 2 months. They split in phases. It's like, I forgot the exact numbers, but it's essentially 2 months. It might be a little bit less, but yeah, they split it up. In the first phase is instrument procedures and basic flight, and then just after your eval, then you do what they call like simulates with situations. and then you start doing situations. That's when you get into like your cross countries and yeah, it's a lot. They cram everything because you do your 300 nautical mile cross country for commercial in your instrument phase. But how they do it is you depart and you go VFR to your point 300 nautical miles away. You stop at another airport so you can do your 3 different type of landings. And then once you land at your that last airport, you then take off and go to another airport, close it out, and then start your IFR hours to go back. So it's like they got it down to a science on how to log.
That is one thing I love about ATP. I mean, they've taken, because they know you're going to be there throughout all the certificates and ratings for this accelerated thing. I mean, you can go get your instrument rating in 10 days. If you do the fly in every day thing, whatever, that's about as fast as you can get it, 10 or 11 days. But ATP looks at it as, well, we got these guys let's look at the requirements for all the certificates and what makes sense to start mixing stuff in synergistically and, do this. It's not like you're getting your instrument rating and running off to go do something else. You're going to be there working on your commercial. So, which takes 250 hours. So you got to start, and that long cross country. So why not start mixing it in together? It makes no sense to make it a race to get your instrument. I like that. That's good.
So you did 2 weeks of straight ground school via video. Then you jump right in the plane. And then for 2 months, you're flying almost like how many days a week or what?
Pretty much every single day. There's
one lesson a day, or are you going up twice a day, or?
Usually one lesson a day. You can fly twice a day if your instructor wants to, because that's how it works at ATP. You don't schedule anything. It's kind of your instructor does all the work, and you kind of just sit back and show up, which is nice for some people. I like it because not working. When I did my private at a mom and pop, everything was on me, and it was just, you have to look at the schedule, find out what's open. Some days instructor's not available, but the plane is, and it's just chaos sometimes.
So do you show up at the airport every day at the same time or something?
No, we have an online system where if your instructor schedules you something, that pops up on your schedule, and you see exactly what you're doing. And they have things called read, view, and do's. So you have to read a couple chapters, you have to watch a couple videos, and you got to make sure you bring whatever is required for that lesson. So
how many students you think that instructor's working with? Do you know?
Usually between like 4 and 6 average, I would say.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And is this guy just who you're going to work with through instrument, and you're going to get somebody else, or are you going to keep with him or her into your commercial?
It changes. So they want to really get you comfortable with flying with different people. That's ATP. They treat it like you're at the airlines already. So all evals, everything is like you're at the airlines. It's like you're getting evaluated by somebody else. Like you're flying with somebody else every time. Like, they try to get you in that mindset. Don't get comfortable with this guy. Like,
so did you have the same guy throughout all your instrument training, or did they switch it up?
I had the same guy, but they throw in like a standards flight every now and then where we're lead instructor. So I've flown to like the lead a couple of times. I've flown like the regional lead instructor a couple of times, and they're constantly like evaluating you to make sure that you're on top of your game.
Where you need to be. I know the answer to this, but are you having fun?
Man, I'm loving it. I'll be honest, I love it so much. It feels amazing to fly every single day. I honestly feel like I don't know. I feel like this is my job already. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Because you went from working so hard just to fly once every 2 weeks to now this is all you're doing,
Yeah, I love it. And we're in the you got like the G1000s with WAS.
Oh, yeah.
And, like all this stuff. Like, I trained in, Cherokees with like 6-pack and, manual radio and like the manual transponder, like everything was classic.
Yep.
Right.
It makes it very difficult to do your instrument rating in those airplanes. I mean, those older airplanes.
Yeah, I would say to anyone watching, I would say get your private in a 6-pack. Just my personal opinion would be to get it in that, to understand what the basics are. Because when you get into that G1000, it's like information overload, and you're learning buttons. You're trying to figure out what this button does, how to get to this screen, and how to plug in this waypoint. And it's just too much.
That's good advice. Yeah.
Too much. But if you have the money, to go train in a G1000 equipped aircraft, by all means, like go train in whatever, like a Cirrus, if you got the money. But you don't need it. I'll be honest, you don't need it.
Yeah, that's Cirrus. Wow. That's a flying iPad with a parachute attached to it.
Yeah.
Real pilots don't need parachute airplanes. Silliness.
Yeah, it's
Oh
So,
man.
Jahmal, I do have a question for you. The question I was going to ask before. So now that you're in there, into ATP, you see their whole gambit, how they do business, and just how it's all organized. If you could go back in time and do their zero to hero program, starting off at your private, would you do it that way, or do you like that you did your private on your own at the mom and pop before you went to the big box school?
mm, I'd probably go to ATP. I'll be honest. Like, but I would have done it. I wouldn't have gone to college if I really knew what I wanted to do. I would have went from
Sure.
high school to ATP, and
Right.
now I would have been, at the regional, or I could have been at the majors by now. I graduated in 2018.
You're not exaggerating too much. Now, I mean,
Yeah.
that's something Mike and I are always pushing on people. Yeah, if you're wanting to be a professional pilot, college is not needed anymore. As a matter of fact, you're hurting yourself financially. If you go to college. Yeah.
Yeah, the way I did the math, so I'll put this in perspective for everybody,
Okay.
is every year that you wait on the back end, you're losing hundreds, millions of dollars. So it's like now you have to retire at 65. So the longer you wait, like I'm 23, I still have plenty of years. But let's say it took me 4 or 5 years to get all my ratings, and now I'm like almost 30. That's 4 or 5 years in the back end where I lost 300 grand, 400 grand, 500 grand. When you do the math, you lose up to like $2 million in salary the longer you wait. So
makes you sick.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Get in and get it done, man.
People claim it's 75 grand, 100 grand, but what's 100 grand to $1 million on the back end?
Yeah. And imagine what those contracts will look like, when you're, in your 50s and 60s. I mean, it's going to be crazy. So help me understand again. So you're okay. You're about to take your instrument ride, and then they're just going to spool you. What, you'll go right into commercial then, and then multi, or what? How does that all go?
So once I take my instrument check ride, ATP has what they call a crew, and they basically send you and another instrument rated pilot all across the country and just building time. So it's for 35 hours. They'll just send you and another pilot, and basically
what's under a hood.
Yeah. One's under the hood and one's the pilot monitor, and you're both building time that way. But they're essentially getting like free labor out of you because they use it to reposition the planes all across the country. But
that's cool.
Sometimes you might, like my roommate got airlined out to Dallas from Centennial, and then they flew from Dallas to I think Atlanta, and then Atlanta to Tampa, and Tampa back, and they just rip you all around the country just flying, building that time. And
this is genius on their part, because they have the need to move their machines around to the different schools or whatever, but you got to get that 250 hours before you can get to that commercial anyway. So everybody's winning. That's that synergy again. I'm starting to like this ATP company more. Yeah. Smart.
Great. My instructor said he flew up and down the California coast for 2 weeks, so you might.
Well, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, you might look into like flying from Centennial to Nebraska to Kansas City and back. You might have to do one of those, but I mean, who cares? It's still fine. But so after you do that, then that's when you go into commercial. And commercial is only about 20 something days. I guess it's less than a month where you do commercial, because you already pretty much have the time. Like my total time is at 169 right now. And I started the first 78 hours, and I've only been flying for 2 months. So you're cranking out hours. So
that's great.
It's a lot of time.
Yeah, the commercial is really probably the easiest certificate. I mean, it just comes with that huge footnote of needing 250 hours to get it. But once you get that and whatever the cross country, I mean, that's a 3-day thing. I mean, you can it's check ride prep and boom, it's done. But you got to take that written. There's a written, but
and that's another thing. ATP they require you to do your commercial written before you start commercial, and they also require you to do your FOA and FOI for your commercial. So you have to do 3 writtens basically within 1 month. So once you pass your commercial check ride, then that's when you go off to CFI Academy. They have specific locations across the country where they do that. I believe it's Ogden, Utah, Arlington, Texas, Mesa, and Jacksonville, the headquarters. And I think they might have in Georgia, I'm not sure, but they'll send you to one of those locations based off your region, They kind of like divide the United States like this. So they'll send you to whoever. So I'm probably going to go to Ogden. I might go to Mesa, but most likely Utah.
Okay.
And you do that for 2 weeks. Right now, the program is the only thing I don't like is extremely backed up, but it's not ATP's problem. It's DPE shortage, you know?
Oh,
like, there's too much people trying to be, I don't want to say too much. There's a bunch of people trying to become pilots right now. The DPE number hasn't changed, or actually it's went down. They said in like before 2020, it was like 1,300 DPEs. Now it's like 800 something.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's went down drastically, and you know,
because all those guys got flying jobs. A lot of them. I know 2 DPs right now. One's guy's flying a Falcon 7X, and the other guy just got a Challenger job. He's just like, I'm not doing that anymore.
Right.
You know?
I looked at getting mine. That was one of the reasons I renewed all my CFI stuff. I'm like, this would be a nice little side hustle. Go make $800, $1,000 on a weekend, but. They need the requirements are kind of strict for somebody who's got an actual life. You got to have 2 years of current instruction time on your back and, recent instruction time in the last 2 years. And I don't who has time for that? And the other thing is, for anybody that's watching, Jamal's rattling off all these written tests he's got to take. The FOI, that's fundamentals of instruction. That's one of the tests you got to take for the CFI. There's every one of these certificates has a written test. But Jamal, I'm sure you've already figured this out, that these government tests, it's nothing to stress about, because once you figure out how to take these tests, they're pretty simple, right? I mean, it's not even so much a actual learning of information or soaking up knowledge. It's more of how to pass the test type of thing. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is. It's memorization.
Right.
Yeah. That's all it is. I watched a video on a guy that has like his doctorate degree. He's a lawyer and he's a pilot. And he said it when he was taking those medical exams to become a doctor. He was like, it's not even about learning it. It's just learning how to. He was like, you'll learn what you need to learn in your degree program and on the job. But that standardized test, you just need to pass it and get to the next level. Right. Because if you start stressing about that, now you failed it. Now you got to take it again. Now it's on your record, and you just got to learn how to take the test.
I think it's just like some kind of baseline barrier they put in there to keep the extreme dummies out. You can't figure this out. We don't want you over here flying airplanes.
So that's I have a great question about that. So there's one of the big things that you hear when people talk about ATP is you can wash out, right? You can spend all that money and then they can say you can't hack it. So that's first part of the question. The second part is there's a base thing that they charge you, but if you need extra training, it could be more than that. So first question is, how many people wash out realistically? And second is that $75,000 they're charging you the real price, or do most people go over budget, on that?
That's a good one. Yeah.
That's a great question. So you can 100% wash out the program. Since I've been here, I've known 4 people that are no longer in the program.
Out of how many are you involved with people?
They just didn't get it. I mean, what? Go ahead.
Hold on. Is there 100 people there at the school, or is
70 people at the location? Right?
How many?
70.
Okay. Well, that's not too bad.
Well, personally, there might be more, but me personally, I've known 4 people that are no longer in the program. So,
in your opinion, were those people average intelligence, or were they not working hard enough, or they didn't take it serious, or what?
Different reasons. My first roommate, he was in his private, and I think ATP is just too much for private. They want, because like for me, I'm an instrument. I already know how to fly a plane. I know how everything works. I know the book work. Now I'm just learning how to do the procedures and how to fly, not breaking rules. So, but in private, they're teaching you everything, and they basically want you to learn how to cross-country flight plan in like 2 days. And it's insane, it's a lot. But that's, of course, what you sign up for. But that, I feel like what kind of got him was they're crushing you.
A fire hose of everything.
Fire hose, and it's get right or get left. Like he's good on the ground knowledge, but it was just the task saturation in the cockpit. I feel like that's what kind of got him, because you don't have much time to understand why you're doing what you're doing, like VORs and all that. You don't know what do you mean by to the station. Like, I feel like those things kind of like got to his head, and they evaluate you every kind of milestone. Like, there's a solo evaluation, cross country solo evaluation, everything, night evaluation. And so he failed the solo evaluation once and a cross country one twice, and they pulled the plug. So
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, pulled the plug on that. And then another guy, he just quit. I think it was just too much. I don't know the reason why. He kind of just bounced. I know another dude, he was an instrument with me. He said it was just too much. He really wanted to understand everything, and he just was having trouble with the ground knowledge. I remember we were doing the ground, and he was just having trouble with the comms, the IFR comms, like clear the ILS 35 right, maintain VFR to establish, and all that stuff. Like, he just had typing like the craft clearances and that stuff. And I guess he tapped out. Another buddy of mine, ATP was kind of playing with him as far as giving him a check ride date. Like me, I'm only on week 1 of waiting for a DPE, but he was 3 weeks in waiting, and he requested an instructor change because the instructor kept on saying he wasn't prepared after making like one mistake in the flight, and kept on pushing it back, and he never got endorsed. So he asked for a new instructor. ATP wouldn't give him a new instructor. So he's like, hey man, I'm done. Peace out. I'll go do it on my own. So
gotcha. So his career is not necessarily over. He's just going to go a different route, maybe.
Yeah, he's from Colorado. He's from Denver. So I don't think you have an issue.
Do you get a sense that some of these, and this is just a thing I'm putting together in my head, like you are so focused on this. This is what you've wanted to do your whole life. Everything since high school has been focused on this moment. So you're taking it extremely serious. Are there people though that like their parents are going to kick them out of the house unless they do something, and then they're just like, go learn to fly a plane, and they don't really care that much? You know what I mean? Is that
absolutely? There's people here, and it's kind of it's reality hits when you realize that everyone is not as passionate as you. Because I could talk about things forever. I could tell you the certain specs, how many like antennas are on the 737, and like this. Like, I love this. I'm so passionate. Some people here that aren't, they can't tell you the difference between an Airbus and a Boeing, but it's like, it's insane to me. But
right.
You just realize people, it's just another job, and this is what they got to do, which is respectable. And this is some people's college too. Like, they went straight from high school, and now they're here. They're like 18, 19 years old, and they never really experienced anything. So they're like, hey, I'll just study an hour, go home, and go drink, go to the bar. This is their college. You know what I mean? But,
right. So those guys that washed out, they don't have to pay the whole 70 or 100,000, right? Would they only have to pay what they did, or are you in it for the whole loan?
No. You only pay what you use, but it still sucks because you're paying a pretty penny to be here. So you just end up only halfway getting through your private, but you owe them 30 grand. Just because it's expensive, you're paying for like the resources, and I feel like you're paying for the name. That's why it's so expensive. You're getting simulators, you're getting the G1000, all the aircraft are like 2020 or better. That's what you're paying for, in my opinion.
I got you. So now you're not that totally done with it, but do you think that is a real price that they give you at the beginning, or do you think there'll be a lot of extra training with that?
Yeah, tap on that. So it is a real price, but it's not. It's the actual price, but it's not realistic, in my opinion, because like I said, if you fail an eval, you're going to need extra training. They require you to do extra training. So, just as long as you don't fail and you don't get behind the program, that is the actual price.
I see.
The moment you start, needing extra help and you need to go up again, that's when they're going to hit you with the charge outside of the program. Okay.
Is that common? Guys needing extra training, is that common, or?
I haven't seen it too much.
Okay.
When you're waiting for a check ride and you're endorsed already, they give you a proficiency flight every week or every 10 days or something like that. They give you a free flight.
Fresh.
Yeah, because it's bad right now. In Centennial, man, some people are waiting like a month for a check ride because the
Oh
DP
man.
is like backed up. Like it's nothing ATP can do. It's just swamp. You know, Centennial is already busy as it is. There's like 10 flight schools out here. Each have like 70 students. Like there's a whole bunch of people learning how to fly here. And then you got BJC, Rocky Mountain Metro, and you got Colorado Springs. You have, everything out here, Fort Morgan and Fort Collins. Just everyone's training out here is booming. So
are they keeping
Wow.
you moving on the next thing while you're waiting for a check ride, or are you just sitting there in a holding pattern?
yeah, that's what I say. That's the down part. That's the only thing I don't like about the program right now is I'm just blowing
Gotcha.
time right now. I'm trying to study every single day, keep myself refreshed on topic, reading every day, remember my acronyms, staying fresh on approach plates and make sure I know what these mean on the low and route chart. Like every day I try to at least look at something.
Right.
Just to keep the juices flowing.
Right.
And then you could get in the sim whenever you want. So the sim is done being booked for instruction after like 8 p.m. So you could go in the sim at like 9 at night, 10 at night, and go crank out some approaches.
Oh, that's cool.
Whatever,
Nice.
for free. And they don't do that.
Huh.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so you're gonna get your instrument. We'll do the commercial. We talked about that. Then you get into the CFI program at one of those designated locations. That takes a couple weeks based on DPE availability. After you get your CFI, then what happens?
They offer you a job there or something, right? Or
They won't offer you a job till you finish the whole program.
So yeah, there's the multi then, right?
Yeah, you got to come back and do your commercial multi. Once you do commercial multi, then you go into your double I and then your MEI. And that's all. The rest of the program is in a multi after you come back from CFI. And it's 25 hours of multi that you're paying for. So
that's great. Okay, so they claim, right, that takes a year and a half or something, but I guess is that longer now with the problems with the DPE?
Yeah, absolutely. I know some people that have been in the program for like a year and they were told 9 months in the beginning. It sucks, but yeah, I can't even vouch for it. It just sucks. But like I said, it's nothing.
What do you estimate it's going to take you from start to finish based on what you're seeing since you had a private? How to get your done with the program?
7 months for me, between like 7 and 8, maybe 9.
Oh, okay. That's
because
still not bad.
The winter is out here, but they tell me 5. They told me 5 months on the outline.
I see. Yeah.
Realistic, because if you follow the outline exactly how it is, yeah, it's 5 months. But DPE availability, because I'm flying every day. That's not the issue. I'm flying every day, building the time, studying every day, getting my writtens. That's not the issue. But yeah, DPs.
So then once you're complete with the program, is there an interview process to be a CFI there?
Yes. Yeah.
They already know you though. I mean,
yeah, I think you go to, it's called NDOC. And that's when they basically say make or break you. I guess if you don't do well at NDOC, that's when they hey, we don't want you. But after you finish your instructor ratings in the program, you email them and then say, hey, I'm interested in the job. And then from there, they'll give you your options.
And then that's when you're trying to get 1,500 hours, right?
Yeah.
So you're and how are guys just killing it? The instructor, are they getting tons of hours there?
Oh yeah, the regional lead guy I flew with, he's my age, he's 24, but he's built I would never guess he's 24, but he started the program. He's I started when I was your age. I'm like, what do you mean your age? He's I started when I was 23. I was like, how many hours do you have now? And because when he said that, he's the regional lead. So I'm thinking you must have a whole bunch of hours and everything. But yeah, he started when he was 23, finished the program in 5-6 months. And now he's at 1,200 hours, 1,250 hours. And he's 24. He's my age. 1 year later, now he has 1,250 hours. And he's the regional lead. He was the lead before. He has all this stuff on his resume to where I'm pretty sure and he's going to Spirit. He already has his little, I don't want to say little, that's kind of disrespectful. But he has,
wow.
He has his program with Spirit, so he's going straight to the A320. But
so
that's awesome.
Spirit is coming in and ear tagging you guys before, and probably some of the regionals too, before you're even done.
700, $600 they're getting you. Frontier get you with your private. You can apply to Frontier with your private, or no, you can apply to Frontier with 0 hours, and they'll get you in the pipeline.
Holy crap!
Wow.
I didn't know
is
that
there all
was
kind
going
of
on. Oh my God. Well, that's worth the price of ATP right there. You're
that's
getting a guaranteed job at a one of those a discount carrier on an Airbus as a private, not even a private yet.
And they pay you
Wow.
money. Like I have a couple friends out here in the Frontier program. They give you $500 a month. Then once you're instructed with 500 hours, they start giving you $1,000 a month, and that's basically your sign-on bonus. So your sign-on bonus is $50K if you just go apply off the street. But since you're in the cadet program, they give you that money in the front end, and then whatever you don't use, that will be your sign-on bonus. And your contract.
Wow. So you're going to be able to knock down a huge chunk of your student loans just from your sign-on bonus, probably.
Oh yeah, yeah, and yeah, you don't have to worry about your loan pretty much throughout being a whole CFI.
So does ATP have deals with all kinds of regionals and stuff too? Yeah.
Everybody, they have connections with every regional airline, every major airline, like every pretty much 135 cargo operation, like everything, like done, like plane sense, everything. Like it's it's anything you could think of. Pretty much the only ones I didn't see they have is like NetJets and FlexJet. Those are like the two carriers that they don't have any connections with. But if you want to apply for, like I think they have one with like Thrive, and a couple other ones out there. I can't think, like JetLinks. They have a whole bunch out there that are just like, hey, we'll get you in, and everything's streamlined. And
so what's your plan? Have you thought about what path you want to take? Are you leaving it open or what?
And I really want to get into corporate aviation. That's
nice.
I thought about going to the airlines just because I love big jets and I love going to Paris and all that stuff. But there's something about corporate aviation where, especially working on the ramp and then also being out here in Centennial where it's booming.
Right.
Every day, Falcons, Gulfstreams, Globals, citations, like that's all you see every day.
Right.
And these guys are like, I don't know, it's way cooler. It's just so much cooler.
I know I asked this before, but I'm just, the program you're in, what happens if you get through your commercial? Because Mike and I have done this whole skip your CFI thing. It's one of our most popular videos. We did 2 of them actually. What happens if you get your commercial and you're like, all right, that's it, I'm out, see ya? Are you already too deep into working on your CFI at that point, or is that the break point? Is that a break off point?
You could break out wherever you want. The only thing is, this is where ATP gets you. You have 50 hours of simulated towards your rating and only 150 hours actual. So once you get your commercial, you don't have 250 total. So that's going to be hard for you to get a job. But they play it right on not charging you because it's less when you do training in the simulator. But you don't have 250 hours total time until you finish the whole program. So it's kind of hard to, leave and get hired anywhere.
I see. Because of what Sean brought up, how they mesh them all together. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
But you have a commercial pilot certificate.
Yeah, but I said that kind of wrong. You have 200 total time, 50 hours simulator time when you get your commercial.
Right. But so you have a commercial pilot certificate with an instrument rating.
Yeah.
But you don't have a multi-engine rating at that point.
No.
Okay. All right.
Gotcha.
Hire you if at 250 total time.
Well, it just depends. One of the, you could end up in the right seat of a King Air or one of these, small jets or something, but you need a commercial multi-instrument. You need that multi-engine time. Multi-engine rating, at least.
Yeah, you get the multi after CFI. So they kind of strategically.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
I got you. I follow you.
Yeah, they make it just so if you leave at a certain point, you're going to leave with the crucial.
Now, this is part 61, so there's no restricted ATP, right? Don't you have to be in a 141 program for that?
Yeah, I wish we get restricted here.
Now, isn't there something with you though? Because you have a 4-year degree, you can qualify for it or something.
It has to be aviation.
Yeah, aviation related, or if military, there's RATP requirement.
They get those
considerations for military
50 hours, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they placed the program out. But yeah, my whole goal was, man, I really want to go corporate. That's the goal. I don't care what I'm flying, but of course, my ultimate goal is getting that G550 freaking East. Like I went and toured one. They're telling me how they could build their own 3-degree glide slope. They could put a dot on the runway in their plane and create their 3 degree. So they don't even need anything. And then
Right.
they have
Yep.
EVA to land, or it's the enhanced vision sensing, something like that, to
Yep.
where FAA can permit them to land in zero visibility minimums. Like, I was like, what the heck?
It's crazy, man. Yeah. You're in a great town for corporate aviation too. I mean, there's so much going on there in
Yep.
Denver, man.
Yeah, it's coming out here. It's growing. I see it in front of my eyes. That's what has me so interested. The airlines is cool, but the way I look at it, it's like bus driver, chauffeur, limo driver.
Right.
I hear you.
I'd rather be this guy. I'd rather be with the millionaires flying on their jets.
Man. Well, look, man, this was just jam-packed full of advice. You're really helping a lot of people by coming on here. I mean, this is I'm sure this is going to resonate with a ton of our viewers, really. I mean, we really appreciate you coming on.
By far, it will on record longest podcast we've ever done, but every bit of it it wasn't like we were sitting here talking about. I mean, this is all good information. One last question, unless you're about to say something, Mike.
I was going to say, and then, the funny thing, we'll tell the viewers, when I reached out to you, you had already watched some of our videos before you started in flying, right?
Which I thought was amazing. I mean,
I watched all of 2 years. I'll be honest, like every video I'm watching, the notifications on, just because the best podcasts, in my opinion, are the ones that give it to you real and raw, and they just sit back and they don't, you guys, I don't look at you guys as influencers, you guys are like pilots doing the job. It's not like day in the life and come along with me type videos. Like, I don't care what you're eating for breakfast. Like, I want to know like what the job.
Gotcha.
Perfect podcast for that. Another good one is I watch is like the 2105, something like that. It's a good podcast.
And make sure you tell them about your channel and what you're planning on doing with your channel.
Yeah, I'm going to link it in the description. Anybody wants to check out Jahmal's channel, it'll be down below here. But what is your plans for your channel? Yeah,
so my plans, honestly, I just want to let people know that it's real, that you could do it, and it's not impossible. And especially people coming from where I come from, and come from South Florida, and minorities where they don't really see being a pilot as something tangible. That's my channel, so people can reach out to me. So I don't want to be an influencer. I'm not that guy on Instagram that's in the cockpit all the time. Like I forget that. But that's what I just want to help people see the vision, because that's what I struggle with. I struggle with seeing the vision. And podcasters like you all help me see, like, hey, like these guys like actually make it happen. Like, like I said, the whole which video was good when you guys were talking about like when you went on a trip and you're riding on your scooter, like
I
want to do that, like basically to be on vacation, like. So
my wife thinks I'm a dork with my scooter, but
like that's what I want to do. So that's why I created. You want to go check it out? It's Jahmal the Pilot, and I only plan on updating you all on the channel for like once I get my instrument, once I get my commercial, see if I just stay focused on the training, because YouTube is a huge distraction in training,
Oh, I bet. We got to let him get back to it, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, that you kind of answered my last question. Oh, yeah.
He's got the board behind him.
Yeah. Are you at ATP right now?
No, library.
Oh, okay. At the library. Well, my last question, you kind of already answered it with what you're planning to do with your channel is, if you had like, one piece of advice to give to anybody out there that's sitting there, thinking like you were just saying, oh man, that's out of my reach. No way I could do this. What do you tell that person? But it sounds like you're already going to be doing that with your YouTube channel.
Yeah. I think it would just be, it's your biggest, roadblock is yourself. It's all up here. Like everything's mental. Mm-hmm. I don't think anything is hard in life. You just got to have that mentality. Like, hey, like, I'm a beast, you know what I mean? Like you just gotta go do it. Once you change that mentality of thinking like, hey, the best job I could get is working on the ramp. The best job I could get is airport operations. This don't, like, you just start limiting yourself, because nobody is saying that you can't do it. No one's saying you can't be a pilot. And that's why, like I said, I struggle with it. No one told me I couldn't be a pilot. I just thought I couldn't do it. So once you start changing what's up here, you'll go so far. And I love to watch motivational videos. And it's so true when you hear like some of these like Navy SEAL guys speak, and they're like, it's all
David Goggins.
David Goggins, yeah.
Goggins, you know, who's gonna carry the boats or whatever David Goggins says. But like it's all here, dude. Like just change your mindset. It's not, you're not dumb. It's just you gotta think better. You gotta clear your mind up, you know, start hanging. Another thing is hanging around people with like-minded people, you know. Like my best friend right now is at ATP too. His name's Shane. And we talk every single day, and that's pretty much like my closest homie. I've had plenty of friends in college, but that's the only one that we have the same goals, same ambitions, and same passion. And when you're bumping heads with someone just like that, it's like, I'll take you to the sky.
Yep.
I like that, Jahmal. I like that. That whole, who told you can't be a pilot? You told yourself that. Quit it. Yeah, I mean, that's so true.
It's crazy. Like, even in your private, it's like, it's all mental. Like, all the tax saturation in the cockpit, saying you can't maintain altitude maneuvers. Like, I can't do this. How do I grease a landing? I keep on floating. It's all mental. Like, you just gotta like, just do it. You know, like, just do it, man. Just shut up. Stop doubting yourself. Do it.
Awesome. Well, that's a perfect inspiration to leave on. And let's try to do a follow-up, you know, as you get finished with the program, and you can update everybody on where you're at, because I'm sure everybody's going to really want to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely, Eric. Yeah, that's just huge for me. I'll be honest, being on this podcast it's insane.
Well, thank you for coming on and sharing your story. This has been great.
Yes, sir. Well, hang in there, my man.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I appreciate you guys bringing me on the show.
All right. Thanks. We'll see you guys next week. Next week, we will have more interviews coming up. I know we were talking about it, the F-16 guy coming on. That is definitely coming up. But we will see you guys next week. Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.